and be a part of this conversation. We started it off last week, and this is a continuation, or call it a sequel to that particular conversation. It has to do with living of legacy. And let me just give you a bit of preamble. Look, I can't imagine or think of, I have to do my research. I must confess that I did not. But African businesses that have traveled 50 years, 70 years, 100 years, you can count, and they are a handful. The question is, how can we continually, all right, have businesses that travel generations with the values? You see, there are some values and principles that must stay. But of course, the changing of times must be applied so that it's able to travel. There's an art and science to it. And this conversation, we have to have it. Why are you not interested in your father's business? Why are you not interested in your mother's business? One that took you through school, gave you everything you needed, and you think that it cannot travel from her period or generation to yours. I think there must be conversations to it, and that's why we're interested in having that. And to do that, with us, Mr. John Appiah, President, African Chamber for Youth Development, joins us to ask or to answer the question, what next? What next in terms of, if you like, whatever it is that you're doing, your business, can you live that? Would your child be interested in it? If you live it and your child is not even interested in it, can it travel generation? Can it transcend generation? All of these and more coming up. We're going to be opening the phone lines at some point. So you can ask questions and also share your submissions with us. There are very silent watchers, just as mentioned earlier. We want to say a good morning to Reverend Ogbami Tete. I understand your dial is always on this, and so a big thanks to you. And most of you are silent watchers. I'll get to find you out pretty soon. But good morning to you, Reverend Ogbami Tete, formerly of Security Exchange Commission. But thank you very much, Mr. Appiah, for coming.
Thank you so much.
We're grateful.
I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. The other day, we started off the conversation. I mean, it went in and out of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the focus was also, if you like, the environment, the working environment, with also much focus on the women and all of that. Today, it's a broad conversation we want to have on how legacies can be lived, how we can mentor people into taking over a lot of things. I ended the question about contextualizing some of these principles. Do you think that what we have seen, the principles that we have seen applied to the issues of living of legacies, also can be brought here, or something has to be done about it? And you were telling me a story of before we came, the issue of your daddy's workplace. You want to share that with me, and how so let's first of all, before we go to the contextualization, let's share with me what the difficulty was in taking over, or how smooth it was, if you want to share that with us.
All right. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I think that legacies are very important things that sometimes, especially in this part of our world, we take for granted. I have often been very aggrieved at the way things are going in this country and then in this part of the world, where people just think about themselves, get as much as they can, and when they leave the scene, everything grinds to a halt.
That's right.
If we are to name a lot of businesses or empires that have collapsed because the person leading is no longer available to lead, it's worrisome and problematic.
Absolutely.
And it's even more worrisome even when the people are alive. And for example, they travel for one reason or the other. Everything at the workplace comes to a standstill until the person comes back to actually, let the matters flow and issues flow. So I think that legacies are things that we need to start talking about now. And we need to look at how we can groom and prepare the minds of people to think about beyond themselves. And there are a lot of people that you realize that they are making impact now. They have all the resources that they can gather. But the question is that in their absence, what happened next, right? So for me, the issue of legacy has been something that's always been on my mind.
Absolutely.
And I even think that even beyond family businesses, people should be able to raise leaders in their stead, such that when they are away, they can get competent people to live or to continue the legacy. Look, you'll be surprised that there are some people who are actually happy that in their absence, nothing is going on. because then you can always refer to them. That when John was here, this used to be a lively show, this used to be this, used to be that. But it is the mindset that creates that problem. So in their transition, even if they are involved in recruiting the next person, they are not too eager and excited about it. So the key things they should look out to recruit somebody that may be able to do even better than them, it is absent.
Right.
And for me, Jesus is a very good example when he says that the things I do, you will do, and even do more than I'm doing. How many leaders can point to their chest and say that they will raise a new generation of leaders that after they are gone, they will do the same things they are doing and even do more than that?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to have the name that, oh, this was done by this person. Nobody has been able to surpass this particular record and all that. So I think that for me, the question or the issue of legacy is something that's driven me. And then when that opportunity fell my way in my father's business, I was more than happy to pick it up to continue with it, because I believe that what was able to take care of us whilst we were young, we will not sit somewhere and say that we are waiting for a white-collar job, so to say, to go and also build your own legacy. We can build on what has already been built, and we can move it into another level. And you'll be surprised, a lot of young people are interested in starting from scratch. And I think that where we have gone, we are far too late to always start from scratch. So we can find existing businesses, existing things, and then bring our flair, our energy and creativity to it and take it to the next level.
In your case, was there a time where, and I'm using your case because there has to be a case study for us to be able to have that context.
Yes.
Was there a time where Daddy was ready to take you through the ropes? Because I guess that will look more like a socialization into some of these things, introduction into some of these things, so that you are clear in your mind that this and this is how easy he had it, and how the difficult parts of the business. Was there a way where you were socialized into some of these things?
So honestly speaking, I didn't have it that way. That is why I think that my case is interesting and worth studying. So at that time, the thinking is that if you're a medical doctor and you run a business, you need another medical doctor to continue the business, right? This is the case. I didn't read medicine, right? I did.
So Daddy was a doctor?
Daddy was a medical doctor, full medical doctor, yes. But I didn't do. I wanted to become a doctor. Those days, I used to, I did science as well in school.
I see.
And I used to be called Lord Bayou, because biology was something that was very, top notch. But at the end of the day, God had His own plans. But the point I'm raising was that I knew He had a business. I knew that from the business, we were able to take care of us. He was able to build and do all those things. So all this while, that thing was in my mind. And interestingly, I bear His full name. So he's John Afezi Appiah the first. I'm John Afezi Appiah the second. But in my plan, I was like, I was going to wait until a time when I thought I was ready to actually give myself into the business to learn. But unfortunately, he died, without any notice, as so to say. So the transition was very sharp, and when that happened, the honors fell on me to also take it up and run. And that's why I faced a lot of challenges. I went through a lot of difficulties. But I'm glad about 6-7 years down the line, it is something recognizable that people come and they are always thanking God that I was able to step in to be able to keep the legacy going.
So what it means is that it had to take your, call it, if not the grace of God, a bit of, if you like, strength to be able to carry through the 6 to 7 years. Other people would have given up.
Of course.
So it means there must be systems laid in place, because you who is watching us today, you don't know where you are going to die. You have businesses. Your children might not be interested. Just like Mr. John Appiah did not take the path of his daddy. But unfortunately, he had to leave us and be with the Lord. And then he fell on. So I'm now looking at how it is necessary that systems are built in a way that either children or relatives or people take it over. And that's where my conversation is now drawn to. So are there systems that must be put in place? And would you have been excited that Daddy would have taken you through some rudiments, to be able to take over? And what are some of those?
That would have been the best approach, honestly. And I would have been happy if we had gone through that. Because you see, the advantage that brings is that for the people who are in business with Dad, they will get to know me.
Exactly.
And then for the staff that work with Dad, they will also get to know me. So the transition will be smooth. Because in their minds, very soon, Daddy will step aside and then his son would take over, right? But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Maybe because I wasn't interested, right? But the point is that I had a lot of support from my nuclear family, from the extended family as well. Because you see, with family businesses, they are very sensitive.
Very.
Because everybody wants to lay claim or lay stake in the business. But what
I give your father money. I supported you with land.
I have a percentage share that's not written on
paper.
Let's see how that goes. So for me, I think that the family's acceptance and decision that, okay, John, you are the young man, you are next in step. We are here to support you. Get the peace of mind and run the business. If you need support, come to us. Let's talk. And for me, that was the foundation that gave me the confidence to continue. But like you are saying, I think that every leader should not wait until you are retiring, especially if you own your own business, before you think of somebody to take over. And it is true, there may be times that your biological children may not be necessarily interested in the business, but there is somebody who may be very loyal to you, who will be very committed and dedicated and forward-looking, that you can also pass on the business to. But unfortunately, in our world now, it's difficult to find people like that.
Exactly.
Because they ask, it's not my father's business, it's not my mother's business, let me do it anyhow and go. But there are rare people in the system who show that vision, who show that support, who show that commitment, that business owners are at a point able to hand over to them because they are convinced that this person will not waste this legacy, this person will take the business to another level, and this person will really make the business run, right? So I think that for every leader, especially entrepreneurs who are running their own businesses, you need to start having these conversations. For your children, I think that you have a way of bringing them close to you. I went to a pharmacy we've been engaging with, and then I saw two people that I'd not met before. So I was talking to them to find out and said, oh, our father is the owner of the business. We go to tech, but we're on a break. So we are doing our internship in the business. Wow. I was amazed. And that is how it works, right? So parents will have to consciously help their children to understand that you may have your own vision you are building, but this is something that I have built. I'll be interested. I'll be happy to have you be a part of it.
That's right.
If you don't want to be at the forefront, that's fine, but you should have interest in it, right? And I think that kind of mindsetting is very important. Look, I tell you, there are a lot of people whose parents may not necessarily have big businesses,
right?
But they are selling
water, sachet water,
cocoa, Hausa cocoa,
exactly.
And all that. And they've been consistent over the years, such that they've been able to build out of that. They have been able to buy cars out of that. And they have even sent their children to first-class schools, even outside Ghana. But the typical mindset is that I went to the university, I need to be in a tie. How can I go and stand by the cocoa thing and start selling?
When there was Cocoa King at the time, who was selling, I don't know, why is that business?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Wow. So for me, especially, I deal with a lot of young people, and I tell them that not every graduate will get a 9-to-5 job to do.
That's right.
And you need to have your mindset that even if it's within the informal sector, you are ready to bring your expertise, your skills to bear from what you learned in school to improve that business. I can assure you, if we have a majority of the young people looking at that and following that trajectory, a lot of things will happen.
On top of my head, I was just thinking that if Daddy were to introduce, I mean, you are coming from a communications background.
Yes.
So there's a clinic or a
yes.
hospital,
yes.
and you have communications.
Yes.
If you were even drawn in at some
yes.
point to help the issues of communications,
yes.
it will even help you understand it from your point of view.
Exactly.
So that the transition period will not have been that sharp,
right?
And brutish, if you like, for want of a better word.
Yes, I agree.
So you might have then known how the things work, because to be able to communicate to the public or the publics within and outside, you must understand the business.
100%.
So I'm also thinking that even if the guy has not gone to learn medicine, whatever he's going to learn, there's a department in the hospital that will find a need for that.
Absolutely.
And so you bring the person to be a part of it, right?
And that's very important, so where your strengths are, you can build around your strength and still contribute to the business.
Right.
My elder sister is a medical doctor.
Okay.
Right. My junior brother is into the health industry.
Okay.
My cousins and other sisters are also into the business space. Right. So what we do is that we all bring our ideas on board.
Yeah.
And since I am more available, they put all that in me and I go out there and I do it.
Right.
And for me, that is confidence, because I know that I have the legitimacy of my family supporting what it is I'm doing. A lot of businesses are thrown into court cases and ownership matters that eventually grinds the business to a halt. But thankfully, by the grace of God, like you indicated, we didn't have it that way. And for me to have the strength of my sisters, my brothers, my family, my stepmom, everybody around me pushing the business, it gives me that confidence. And that is that kind of legitimacy that will allow me to take bold decisions, knowing very well that if my father was alive or wherever he is, he's smiling down because he's seeing that, yes, his work didn't go waste.
How were you able to also draw so you mentioned some loyal people.
Yes.
I don't know whether you can say all of these things, but there are workers who were working there for years.
Yes.
And you took over, new to the business. I'm not sure. They just see you and they say, oh, this is the Jonapia Jr., this is the son. But finally, they just see you and you have to take over the business. Yeah. How were you able to also rope them in outside the roping in of your family members who also had stakes in it? How were you able to roping all of these people to believe in the same vision that Daddy had?
Great. I think that for me, what was very important was that I had to show expressly that I was interested in the welfare of the people working in the business.
Okay.
You know, we have heard stories where people take over other people's businesses and they just think about themselves and they neglect the welfare of the people they are working with. And I can tell you that if you think about the people you work with and they know you think about them and you show it, they are able to offer you support. It will not be straightforward. It will be difficult because they have to be sure that this person we are entrusting our leadership into, he's able or she's able to push the agenda. So the very first few months was me trying to prove to them that, one, I am interested in the business and trying to let them understand that if you don't help me and the business goes down, you don't have a job.
Yes.
So you need to bear in mind that I am here for the interest of the business first, right? And secondly, for the people I was working with or I'm working with to know that I am there for them. I am here to support them. I'm here to listen to them. And I'm here to make them a part of the success story.
That's right.
Sometimes people isolate when it comes to the success story and they talk about just themselves, but you can never do it on your own.
Yes.
You know, so that grace to bring people to the table, bring people to the decision-making table, gives them confidence that this person is concerned about us, this person is concerned about our welfare, and therefore they bring all their skills, all the experience, and all the expertise on board to help you. Remember last week I was telling you that if you as a leader try to show them that you know the business, they will master you.
Oh yes, some of them will show you.
Of course, you know, so I think that it is important for leaders to understand that if you are taking over another business or you are building an existing legacy, it's important to involve the people around you. I've also seen scenarios where when new people come, they sack old people and bring new people. I think that that's not always the best way to go. Because one, you're going to leave people very aggrieved, people that may have made sacrifices that you don't even know.
Yes.
And in the pain of their heart, when they speak against you, it may have some ramifications, right? So you may introduce new people, but bear in mind that you should be able to work it in a balanced way. So that at the end of the day, you satisfy both people.
Thankfully, you and time check is 9:25. You can open the phone lines now. You can call in if you have businesses. Your mother has business, your father has business, or your family has a business, and you are struggling with yourself to either take over. How do you want to take over? Or you also probably have owned business where your children have taken over. You can also call us, share with us how you went about it, for which your children or relatives took over, how successful that was, how unsuccessful it was, the lessons learned. You can share all of that with us. You can call us now and share your thought with us. Thankfully, you were much older.
Yeah.
And served in capacities in businesses. And so some maturity and understanding to some of the running of the businesses came to bear readily. There are people who, when they pass on, their children are either just coming from the university or have not completed. The onus now falls on them, or for the Lord falls on them to say that, well, you are there because there's not been any succession plan that has been built. In your mind's eye, what must be done in this situations so that these people are, if not anything at all, easily roped in and they can take over with the support of the existing staff who have been probably working over there and have not had the opportunity to run in those capacities.
Very, very, very good and very legitimate questions. And this is why I would like to broaden the conversation.
Please do.
So even beyond, your family or your parents owning businesses, I think that for every young graduate, you should have a mindset that at a point in time, you will be elevated into leadership.
Okay.
Right. So
Generally,
because it could also be the case that you may not be biologically connected to the business, but because of the expertise you bring to the table, your composure, your loyalty, your commitment, you can be thrust into leadership, right? There's this brand that I recently saw on TV and then on social media that for one day had elevated a young person as CEO.
Yes.
I don't want to mention for
strategic reasons.
You know, but I keep saying that for us as Africans, young Africans, we should not let age be a limitation. Because you won't believe that there are people who are waiting to become leaders at 50, at 60. No, at this very young age, if you prepare your mindset very well and you work very, very hard, you will prove beyond your age that you are capable to make things happen. Right? So right from the onset, from the university or whatever school you attend, have that leadership mindset. That's why I'm passionate about the African Chamber for Youth Development.
That's right.
We need to empower young people to have that mindset. Look, in the Western world, you go to business, you want to meet the CEO, you go to the office and you're like, but this is a small boy or this is a small girl.
That's right.
But they have built a competence over
when
the
they
years.
start speaking about the business.
You know,
Yeah.
so I think that people will need to have that very important mindset that yes, I may not be a leader now, but I am preparing myself for leadership. I am learning about the business.
That's right.
You may be limited to one department, but be broad-minded. Think about the general business. In your spare time, learn what's happening in the other business. Because you see, leaders will come when they show that they are well-rounded people. They wouldn't say that because you're in marketing, you have to be the CEO.
Right.
There can be somebody even in security who may be intelligent, who may be smart, who may show that I understand the business, the decisions, and I'm willing and ready to put my life on the line to make the business grow.
So before you go on, Joyce is calling us from Malam. Joyce, can you hear us?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Joyce. You're on air. Talk to us.
I want to contribute to your discussion.
Please do.
Yeah. You see, I like what Daddy is saying. You see, I am running a business. I sell water and charcoal. But when you listen to people, I said that the charcoal I sell, when we used to tie the 5 cedis. Sometimes when you tie the 5 cedis, you get 10 cedis or 15 cedis or 20. So they are like, is this a business? The water also the same thing, but I was able to grow the water from where it is and where it is before and where it is now. I want you people to advise the youth that you don't just get up and make it. It's gradually.
Yes.
Today, people come to buy charcoal bag. So I'm believing God that He will take me somewhere.
Right. I see.
So it takes process to build a business. And today's children, they want many income. Because I've listened to a lot of them. They want many. Why are you getting 15 charcoal, 15, 20 CDs on one charcoal? Is it a business? So I want
Absolutely.
you to advise the youth that it's gradually.
Process. Wow.
Okay.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joyce. You can also call us. Archbishop has a book on process, trusting the process. You have to trust the process. The process, if you skip the process will bring you back. You will go back to the process. By all means, it's a law. It's a law. So you can also call us and share with us. But if you're watching us as well, before Mr. Apia continues, I dare you to go. Start having conversations with your mommy or father, no matter how small the business is, and see if you can apply what you have learned in school to be able to grow it. If you can do that, bro, sis, you can survive anywhere. If you can just lift the business a bit, where the income was or the profit was 15, 20 cedis, and you could start doing a 50 cedis a day or even a week, it increases. You can survive anywhere before you go out there to want to do anything. Otherwise, Charlie, you and I will still come and we'll be jobless. So we're talking about the system we need to build and all of that.
Yeah. So that's very important. And I like the contribution made by Joyce.
Yes.
You know, it's about the mindset.
Indeed.
So if 15 CDs, 20 CDs over the past 15 years or 20 years, your mother has been able to pay your school fees, has even contributed to your wedding and helped you to get a place to stay. What makes you think that this is not something that you can invest in, right? Yeah. And people should know that it doesn't mean that you're going to put all your eggs in the basket, but you're going to pay attention to it. You're going to contribute to the business growing. And then other things you have doing, you can also do those things on the side.
Right.
But you should be interested in something that has gone past 10 years.
Yeah.
How many even businesses or companies that are set up are able to survive 10 years? So if your mother's small business, your father's small business has been able to take good care of you. I know people whose fathers are mechanics, but they have taken good care of them. They have put them in school. They're like a fitter. I'm not saying go and become a fitter, but be interested in it.
You can change it to a garage.
You can
build the thing, let it be beautiful, and the money goes up.
Think about marketing strategies.
Exactly.
Can I talk to the people in my office that, oh, look, my dad is a very good mechanic. Can I speak to the transport officer or transport manager? Be thinking along those lines, because that is what has kept him, and he's ready to leave that legacy for you to continue. And people should be happy that the hard work has been done. For a business to go past 5 years, bro,
that's
small.
That work
so already you have that confidence that if it's a survived 5 years, then it can go the long haul. And you should be ready and willing to put yourself to it. And now the pastors are doing it very well.
Okay, are they?
Yes, because you see, you realize that most or some of them have started, in a way, introducing people, or like, I wouldn't want to say close family, but they are genuinely looking at how people can take over from them when they're not there.
Right.
Because me and you know churches several years ago that died with the families.
Absolutely.
And that is what we don't want to happen.
Yes.
And I think that people are waking up to that conversation. So yes, it is something worth talking about. It's something worth discussing. You can have your own professional, right? But think about the other business as well. That business in the informal sector. What can you do? How can you legitimize it? I know people that do Uber and do Django and all that, and they've been able to accumulate so much for themselves, and they now have a stream of cars working for them.
Exactly.
So it's about the mindset, and I think that's why young Africans, we miss it. Because like I said, we want a 9-to-5 job, we want to work with Microsoft and be paid $10,000 at the end of the month with spending money and all that. It may not happen. Some are lucky to have that.
Yes.
But the point is that whatever it is you find yourself doing, you can make it work.
The issue then about, so we're talking from the perspective of, I think the young person or changing the mindset. So let's go to the older generation now, or we who would want to leave something for our children. How do we readily do it in the case of your son or your daughter is in school and he's about completing, doing something else? What are the systems to bring him or her in? Is it internship?
Yeah.
What are those very practical ways to be able to bring him closer to the business, begin to see what the business is really about?
I think on top of my head, the easiest one is the internship approach.
Right.
When they are away from school and they are home, you can bring them into the business and let them be part of the day-to-day business for them to understand it,
That's right.
which is very important.
Right.
I'm also happy we are now looking at it from the point of view of the elderly or the generations ahead of us.
That's right.
You see, most of the time, as a result of insecurity, people find it difficult passing on knowledge and information to the next generation. And this is even beyond family businesses, right? I have heard scenarios where apprentices, when they are learning from their masters, you hear the master saying that, oh, I have taught him everything, but just one thing.
Wow.
Because, you see, sometimes too, the young generation are not grateful. The young generation are not people that you can because the missing trust can create a problem for you, because they know very well. You see, and when people are training others, they are watching, they are looking at the attitude, they are looking at the mindset, and you know that this person, the moment he gets the very last key, that's my end. He will come and kill my business because he will walk away with everything.
Exactly.
But the point I'm making is that if we want our older generation to be more secure in passing on knowledge and information to us, then we have to prove ourselves to be trustworthy people, right? Because when there's that imbalance, it will always create a problem. And then also that negative sense of competition. So I am learning under you as a presenter. One day you give me 5 minutes to come and present. And that 5 minutes, I want to take 10, 20. I don't even, when you call me, I don't mind you, because somebody has texted that, oh, John is very good. And at that point, I'm thinking of starting my own show. And that's why a lot of young people have crashed.
True.
You get the point. True. You should be ready to learn.
Right.
Humble yourself and be ready to learn. Because the moment you start showing signs like you're competing with your mentor, that's where the problem comes in. Then I'm not willing to show you the other things, because already just a little you know, you have taken everything. Absolutely. You know. So I think these are all very important conversations that will make it easier for the older generation to pass on knowledge and information to the younger generation.
People who are struggling, especially the older guys who are struggling and saying that, well, I don't know about this succession plan thing. Who do they talk to? Who must they go to? Are there people who are there who draw succession plans or take you through some of these things? But before we answer that question, please don't forget, let's go to Medina. There's a caller on the line. Hi, good morning.
Hello.
Hi, good morning. You're on air.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Please, I can see people are talking about legacy, right?
Yes.
And in terms of legacy with business, there should be a primary person who owns the business, right? In order for him to pass it out to someone, right?
Right.
So what of those people who are working the 9-to-5 job for people? How do they pass such legacy?
Okay. That's a good answer. That's a good question.
Yeah. So maybe let me speak to that. And
yes, it will come to yes, very important.
So I think that the most important thing is the mindset. I have worked for a number of organizations. I still work for a number of organizations, right? So I think that the 9-to-5 should not be a limitation, but it is about how willing and ready you are to contribute to the success of that business. You may not be biologically related to whoever owns the business. It could even be a multinational. But by virtue of your mindset, your hard work and your dedication and your competence, most importantly, you will have what it takes to rise up the ranks.
Yes.
It's just a matter of time, right? So I think that people should keep their eyes on sharpening their skills, making sure that their contributions to the table is visible.
That's right.
There are people doing very well, but they say that, oh, I want to be humble, I don't want to talk about it, and they are just there. Even in appraisals, their managers are mafia in them, and they're like, oh, I've given it to the Lord. No. You have to make everybody see what you bring to the table.
That's right.
Let people understand the competence you have, the value of your ideas that is changing the business. You may not be at the top level, but I can tell you that if you are consistent on that trajectory, you'll be elevated to the top level.
Yeah.
It may not even be with the business you are with now, but another opportunity may come for you to show clearly what you are capable of doing.
One thing I've also seen people do really is that, and this is also to answer, to add up to what our caller from Medina was asking, the issue about when you do it right, there are people who walk out of the business to start their own businesses and serve as consultants. That same company, because of what you have brought to the table, they know your competencies, will now come to you to consult for them.
And that's important, even the way people live business.
Exactly. Because that's banging the door.
Banging the door, bending the bridges, and at the end of the day, you are limiting yourself.
Right.
So I think that we need to have that at the back of our minds, that it's a very small business world out there. So what if you go to a bidding and the person you mafiaed in another business is the chair of that? Then what do you do? So relationships are extremely important.
That's right.
And if you build your relationship right, even though you may have parted business or parted ways with a certain business, there's always that opportunity to connect again and be able to get to do business. So we should have that at the back of our mind.
Let's now go to our earlier question about succession plan.
Yes.
Who can we talk to? How do the people get that in place? And how do they ensure that it is indeed done as stated in those plans?
So let me start from this angle. There are a lot of multinational businesses that have an eye for raising the next generation.
Right.
So right from internship opportunities to giving graduate trainee programs, it is an agenda to raise the next level of leaders. And I think that for even individual businesses or people that own their own businesses, something they should think about all the time is preparing the next generation to support the growth of the business. And the multinationals do it very well. So when people apply for the jobs, whilst they are working, their appraisal systems are always sharp and on point. They are picking out outstanding people, and they are consciously training those people with leadership skills to be able to help them grow into the C-suite. So there are some very top-notch C-suite executives who started from the scratch. But by virtue of their hard work and their competence, they were identified and taken through a program that allows them to learn more, sharpen their leadership skills, so that when the opportunity presents themselves, these people will be able to lead.
I see.
So I think that even for Ghanaian-owned businesses and for entrepreneurs and societies that own businesses and all that, they should always be looking at the next generation. How can we train them? what can we do in terms of imparting to them leadership mindset so that they can contribute to the conversation. But if it gets to the point where you are not thinking about all these things, and then there's a vacancy or there's a caller on the line.
Yes,
Okay,
I was even about to allow him to
sure. I'll come back to that.
Conclude. Kojo from Santas is on the line. Kojo.
Yeah. Good morning, Kokurimo.
Good morning, you're on air.
Okay. So I'd just like to contribute to the show. Yeah. So I have this big brother who used to work with my uncle.
Right.
But after the death of my uncle, the nuclear family of my uncle felt like, no, if they continue to allow my big brother to handle the business, it's going to cause problems for them and all that. So along the line, they sidelined him and brought in someone. And when I look back now, you can see that the business isn't doing so well as it is. But there was someone who was working along with my uncle. That's my big brother, but they've taken him away. I mean, with the fear of, no, the daddy is not there again. If we bring an extended family to it, I mean, I just want to understand how best can, Ghanaian businesses, leave a legacy.
From that perspective.
Even though if it's a family, extended family who has to take over, or I just want education on that.
Okay. So look,
so it's part of the plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Insecurity, like I raised earlier on, okay, and I cited my example of my extended family and myself all coming together to help me do this, right? So I think that notion of insecurity, especially for, like in this case, he's not directly related, is an uncle, not like the biological father, right? So there are two things at play here: the question of insecurity, right, and the question of competence, and also the question of the owner of the business making a categorical statement
that I
want my nephew to continue to run the business, right? Because when that is said and that is explicitly recorded, then it gives legitimacy to the nephew to be able to keep running the business. And I must also say that there are some family members, when you introduce into your business, they don't care about the business. They don't show commitment about the business. Look, I can even bet you that there are some organizations, even when the father says that this is my son to continue, the people will oppose because the son is reckless, he's arrogant, he doesn't know the work. And that becomes a problem because the other people are thinking about the sustainability of the business, right? So we need to look at both angles. If you happen to be a relative who's given the opportunity, don't think that it's because it's for a relative, you can do it anyhow, report anytime, everyday excuses. You are not committing yourself to the work. Of course, when it comes to the point where it has to be passed on, you will not even be considered because you have not shown that you are competent, you are capable, and you are really committed to make the business work, all right? And I also think that sometimes it's about managing the family. It's a difficult thing to do because if you are not directly related to the person, people may have a lot of doubts around you. Right. You are taking the business to another place, you are going to close down the business, and you are going to take care of your family and all that. But you should show that the business growth and sustainability is important to you.
That's right.
And whatever comes in, you are open to share with the people around you or the extended family, right? And you should be willing to submit yourself for scrutiny. Because at the end of the day, there are people that don't know anything about the business, but they can hold you accountable.
Yes.
Come and do an account to us at the end of the year. What has happened? But in the case where you are, being a bit difficult to open up and to share information and all that, then of course the extended family will do everything possible to kick you away.
Right.
But this is another scenario. You kick the person away and the business
collapses.
Right.
Some people readily want to see the business collapse rather than see the other person do the thing. And that's the insecurity you are talking about. So that brings me to the conversation we were having, the issue of trying to, you said, handpick people or get to see through appraisals, you know who and who is doing better, get them some trainings and all of that. Apart from that, people who own, and you are talking of the multinationals where they are headquartered somewhere else, there are other branches and all of that in other countries. But let's come to businesses where somebody says, okay, I'm growing old. Now I have some terminal illnesses or some disease that I feel that could take my life off at any time, or I'm old, Charlie, I cannot trust that I could live long. Who do I go to see to write what succession plan for me? In what form must it take? Must it be the issues of some family members being on, some other people who are working on there should be there. Some money is going to the family, some of them going to some investment and all of that.
Okay.
Who must they speak to?
It's a good question. In my personal opinion,
Yes.
When you wait until you get to the point where you know death is staring in your face before you start thinking about succession, it's a problem.
Okay, that's nice.
So you don't have to wait till you get to that point, right? And the second thing too is that right from the onset, you should be identifying people who are capable to run the business for you.
That's right.
I know a business owner who opened it up and just put in a vacancy on ads in the papers and everywhere that he's recruiting for a managing director. That's right. And this is a person that owns 100% of the business, but he knew that maybe doing an internal search, he didn't get anybody in the family who was willing or capable of running the business. So rather than have the internal person come and run down the business, I will open it up and employ a very competent person who I know by virtue of the competence and experience will be able to take the business to the next level. But I will also ensure that key people in my family are part of the decision making so that this person doesn't throw everything outboard or overboard. Right. So these are things we need to have a look at and start conversing about and talking about. Right. And I think that the issue of business owners becoming conscious on a daily basis that you don't even have to die. Sometimes you are tired. You have to rest for another person to continue running the business.
Right.
It doesn't mean that because you own the business at 120, you are still signing check. God has given you long life, but it doesn't mean that you should still be in board meetings and be discussing and all that.
Yeah.
But the point is that you have groomed and prepared a number of people who are potential people to run the business so that even when you are tired, you can step back and bring in this new energy, this new phase to drive the business.
Let's talk about also people, workers in that in these organizations, facilities, companies that believe that I have worked with you, I've been loyal to you, yet you just readily gave it to your daughter or son, and I thought I deserved it rather than that child of yours. The mindset, is that a good mindset to have? Are they legitimate and germane concerns? If they are, walk me through how they also must handle themselves and expectations.
All right. So there's this thing I call an exaggerated sense of entitlement.
Nice one.
And I have spoken on the platform and I told people that the fact that you have worked so many years with a company doesn't mean that you should get a pay rise. It is what you bring to the table, the value you bring to the organization, and how your actions and your work is contributing to profitability that gives you that grounds to argue for more. But there are people that have been in organization, they've been loyal, but they have not worked on the core competence they have. And that for me is a problem. I used to teach in a school that had one family member as part of the leadership of the school. And the person has been there for almost 20 years. But the little time I spent in the school, I realized that this person is not adding value to himself. He's just there on the fact that I am a family member and I am there. So people bypass him all the time and rise to the top, and he's still at that same level. We cannot sack him because he's a family member. But at the end of the day, he's not showing that he's willing to progress and make advancement. So people have to work on their sense of entitlement. And you should know that the world is like that. If you keep thinking that this is mine, and this is the only thing I will do to survive, you may be hit by a problem.
That's right.
So people should be open-minded and discard that mindset that it is mine. I need to have it by all means. And that's why people go out of the books to do everything possible to become leaders.
That's right.
And unfortunately, they become leaders and they run the business down. So that exaggerated sense of entitlement has to be worked on. And number two, you need to prove. So I keep telling people that even if the boss doesn't call me to succeed him in the business, I know the competence I've built, I can work anywhere on it. There are people, as I talk to you now, they cannot leave their businesses because they have not built themselves, they have not built a network. They may be competent, but they don't have any network. Beyond the businesses they do, they don't meet people, they don't talk to people, they are not on LinkedIn, they are nowhere. So they are stuck with the businesses, even though if they had positioned their mindset very well, build the right network, it's just a matter of calls, right? And I keep telling young people that the business you're working with today can sack you.
I was coming to that point.
The business can sack you. Maybe because the business is not doing well, we have to close down the business. There's a situation I'm witnessing currently where a business owner has to close down one department because it is not running profits. And unfortunately for the people working in the department, their mindset was limited only to that department. So even when the business owner says that, oh, Charlie, you guys, there's no way going on, move to the other departments, they are reluctant.
Yeah.
And now the business has closed, so they have to go and sit home. But I can assure you, if there were people with open mindset and they knew that business is not coming in this department, let me just find somewhere else and then still show my value, they will still be in business.
Yeah.
So that thing for me is very, very important.
That's right.
You should build yourself, you should be ready to work, and at any point in time, bear in mind that you can be sacked from your work, the business can collapse. But if you are competent, if you have a good network, I can tell you, you will always find a job to do.
Then comes to the issue of whether or not after employing your son, your daughter, you are also still alive, or there's a system working. How do you hire and fire your own daughter or son? And would it be fair that the system you have put in place, indeed the succession plan, is able to fire based on competence
100%,
and all of that?
100%. So that comes to building legacies through systems and processes.
That's right.
Very important. So you put him in charge of the business, but you also have another board which is independent that have the power to scrutinize and call for accountability. So if your son or your daughter has that mindset that it's my father's business and that is it, that's where the problem comes. So I really believe that entrepreneurs will have to look beyond just their family.
Right.
So imagine you have put into place competent management team members and you've put into place a board that supersedes or looks over the business. Then there's a line of accountability. So in the case where your son or daughter or biological relation is grossly pushing the business down, the system will just move the person out of it. Very, very important, because if you don't do that, the business will die.
Yes.
And I keep telling people I work with that the business is more important than any one of us. Because if you don't see it that way, you will always have a problem.
Right.
So the systems and the processes you put in place as a business owner will check what is happening. And I think that is where we run at a deficit in this part of our world, because one person can wield so much power. And at the end of the day, can draw everybody down.
Yeah.
But you have systems in place. You are the managing director. But remember that the managing director, there's a CFO who's not even a blood relation, who is thinking about the business. So if the MD tells the CFO, write this check for me, it's like, boss, this one, then don't go there. This is the principle.
Yeah.
You know, so the checks and the balances you put in place will help the business to grow. And if those checks and balances works very well, you don't even have to fire your son or daughter. He will bring the resignation letter because they may not have that ambit or that free space to operate, because they know that the system is checking them. So as for systems and processes, you need to make a conscious effort to make that a part of your business. Especially, even whilst you are alive, sometimes test your system. Go on a 2-month break or a 1-month break, holiday, New York or Chicago or somewhere, and go and relax, or Volta region or Central region. Just go and chill and see if the business can run without you. If you cannot leave your business for more than 2 weeks, then there's a problem.
Yeah, I think that's instructive. That's extremely instructive. I know of businesses that they'll sit at the table and make sure that they put together the code of conduct and ethics. So much so that you were part of it. Everyone is part of it. They all contribute to it. So that once you fall flat, you say, you were here when you said it. It is written. It is written and you're part of it. And so, I mean, let's talk about your final words before we draw. I mean, it's been a wonderful conversation. I'm sure there are a lot of silent watchers. Don't a lot of them. You have no idea. But talk to me about your final words about living legacy as far as a corporate. This conversation has to continue. You have to definitely. Yeah.
So one of the things I'll talk about is that young people will really need to show themselves worthy of leadership. Right. Which is very important. You may be young and exuberant, but don't be irresponsible. You may be young and gifted, but if you lack that mindset of a responsible person, it will come back to hurt you. Right. So my first word goes out there to the young people out there. The generations that are coming after us will do better than the generation that are ahead of us. We need to understand that. But we should prove beyond every reasonable doubt that we are trustworthy. We should prove beyond reasonable doubt that we are competent. We should prove beyond every reasonable doubt that we are ready for leadership. Unless we get to that stage, it will be difficult for leadership to just be handed over to us on a silver platter. Secondly, for the young people that have happened to rise into leadership, they need to set a good example that will keep opening the doors for other young people. Imagine when a young person is elevated to a very powerful position and messes up. it becomes a standard, and people say that, oh, because Kwame went there and messed up as a young person, I'm not willing to entrust my business in the hands of a young person. So for the young people in leadership, the responsibility is on you to set a good example such that it will open the doors for other young people. Now, to our older generation, we need to have this conversation.
That's right.
It's not a competition. We are here to support each other. We are here to work together. I don't have any intentions of undermining your authority because I may appear better than you.
Yes.
But I'm working together with you to build a business. I'm working together with you to build a legacy, right? So if the older generation have this mindset that let's pour out ourselves into the upcoming generation. Jesus was a young man, 33 years, but he was able to raise about 12 people that he used to change the face of this earth, right? So leadership is not again about how old you are, but your willingness to pass on that legacy and to equip and empower people to be able to do that. So we appeal to the older generation. Give us that opportunity. Some of the board meetings, take us, let's go and sit in the board meetings. Let us observe. Let us take notes. Let us learn, right? High profile meetings. Sometimes go with us. You are traveling outside the country for a business meeting. Find one young, competent, sharp person. Go with the person to the meeting. You are giving them exposure. You are training them. And by the time you realize, these people are ready to be able to take off when you leave.
That's good. Mr. John Appiah is President African Chamber for Youth Development. And on that note, I think it sells you so well. I mean, it just tells you where you are coming from, youth development, and of course, being able to understand both. It's also a fact that not everybody can start a business. Some of us would have to work for people. You have to work, rise through the ranks, and then get to the top of the business and retire with it. And we have, even with churches, we have seen it, people serving people till they die. So you must know where you are, where God has called you to be, and all of that. We're grateful. Thank you very much for making it a very interesting conversation, as always. Mr. John Appiah, once again, is President African Chamber for Youth Development, joining us to do that. I'm sure you enjoyed it as well. You've learned something. Make sure that you connect with us. Do business with us. You can also bring your business. We don't just talk about all the issues. Reverend Team Four is every day. No, we don't do that. We talk about these very productive ones that give rise to people who talk. I mean, you can tell what was oozing out of the man that is going to be productive. Tomorrow we're back to do it all over again. This has been Wake Up Africa. It starts at 6:30 a.m. You want to also enjoy our programs. There's also a movie at 1 p.m. There's a lot more coming up as well. My name is Koplo Mausiso.